Well, good morning, everyone, or good day, regardless of those beyond those in the West. Welcome to Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. We are a nonprofit organization welcoming all beliefs and faiths. For this particular session, we always begin with prayer, and our prayer today is led by, I don't know.
I think it would be by you, but I'm happy to jump in.
Thank you, Kiki.
So let us all close our eyes and take a deep breath and exhale. And as we keep breathing, let us connect to our mentor, to Jesus Christ, to God, Mother, Father, God, to whom we give thank you for the amazing opportunity of another day, giving us health and conscience so we can decide where we want to be. And we are so glad to be here, Father, connecting our hearts and our minds towards learning, towards opening up more of our senses so we can develop our morals, so we can keep working to be better, to be our best version, so we can serve more our brothers and sisters who are in deep need. We ask you for guidance, for support. We ask that the mentors work with our dear brother Brian, that we give thanks also for his availability and interest to be here with us today. Please guide him, protect him. And may all of us be connected and united, both in love and peace. We humbly ask for permission to start our study today. And so be it, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Kiki. Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center is founded and continues on the basis of Spiritism. We believe, however, that in the Christian walk and in all walks of faith, there are many parallels, and these are the ones we tend to focus on in all of our sessions. We are a nonprofit 501c3 in the state of California, and we meet virtually at this time. Our Sunday sessions are broken into two parts. The first is a speaking part with a guest speaker, which we'll be getting to in just a second. And the second part is a healing part, where we facilitate what are called passes of a spiritual nature. Throughout the week, we have a variety of different sessions online using this very same Zoom connection. And I'm hopeful we're going to see the calendar in just a second. Brian, we're going to knock you off. There you go. This evening and every evening at 6 o'clock, we have a short prayer session. And again, all are invited for that. We don't have a particular format we follow other than everyone is entitled to speak if they choose, or they can just listen and feel the positive vibrations. After that, on many nights, we have an educational session, typically a book study, where we are collaboratively reviewing and learning of the documentation that exists in the world of Spiritism. There we go. So this evening, we will be continuing our study of the book Missionaries of the Light. It runs for an hour, and it is open to anyone. And it doesn't matter if you weren't here at the beginning or not. In each of these, there's information in every session that can be most beneficial to many of us. On Tuesday nights, we are continuing our study of the book, The Consoler. And that's in collaboration with Divine Light, another Spiritist group. And on Wednesdays, we continue the book study, Heaven and Hell. On Thursdays, the book study, Living Spring. And in all cases, these are books that are authored by individuals who were typically in connection with spirits, and hence the entire study of the principle of Spiritism. On Mondays, we have a closed group of mediumship beginning at 6:30. And again, it follows this similar format, education to begin, and then a healing service to follow. One other item is what we call fraternal counseling. If anyone would desire one-on-one with any questions regarding the faith, the belief system that is Spiritism, the practices that we do, etc., feel free to let us know, drop us a message either through our website or in the chat session here, and one of us will respond. Typically, we meet on a by appointment basis, and we reserve that window of time on Wednesdays for that purpose. All of this is available online at our website, so don't hesitate to check out bshcenter.org. We now move to the educational session, and I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for today, Brian Vosberg. I've known Brian for a number of years. As a fellow American turned Spiritist American. He has continued the journey a bit ahead of me in time, but I'm catching up as quickly as I can. And we're learning all the time and sharing that knowledge. And that's what Brian is all about. He's going to deliver a presentation today that the title alone really is worthwhile. So I'm not going to go into Brian's specific background. I'm going to let him do that. I know he begins his sessions typically with that little bit. Brian, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Yes, I am Brian Vosberg. I'm currently here in Florida right now, and I was introduced into Spiritism 20 years ago now, this past March, being introduced to it through my interactions with a Brazilian woman that, oddly enough, I met in Seattle and then introduced me to Spiritism in New Jersey. So that alone is a story unto itself, and also one where it reaffirms in me that God is in our lives through everything and works through us through various mysterious ways. So in this way, I would sit there and say, we may not know, we may not see the signs, but they're all around us. So, and then hopefully we pick up on one and guide us on our way. And after I joined the center, after a couple of years, I started getting inspired to become a lecturer, teacher, interacting, doing some of the mediumistic studies and things like this. And then to this point where it's like I've been, as you see now, here I am as a speaker. And the only thing I haven't done yet in the Spiritist movement is started my own center, and I'm getting poked to do that in Sarasota because there isn't one. So, which kind of leads me right into my topic here, because there's a call to action for every one of us that are been paying attention to recent events, current events in the last 2-3 weeks. There's been a lot of talk in the United States about a revival of faith, revival of Christianity. And this is one of those things where it's like, okay, I knew from a very young age that I should also be living a Christian life or living a principled life. So I was using those on the basics of the Christian doctrine that I was learning growing up. But then later on, as I got introduced to Spiritism adds another layer to it that gives it greater depth. Which we always love to hear, how we have it saying, but the unshakable faith is the one that can withstand all epochs of time. It's always true, no matter what you've been going through in your life. These things should always be true. and things that are true in the Bible from Jesus' time 2,000 years ago to the time of Moses, Abraham, on back. These are these moral teachings that we are learning within Spiritism are just as true today as they were back then, and they will be just as true going farther into the future. So as we keep learning about these things, we have to keep mindful that while maybe pointing it to us, it will be something that is going to be greater into our future, ourselves, and for humanity as a whole. Here. So usually they always tell us to get back to the core doctrinal teachings, the teachings of Allan Kardec. So I'm sitting here going back, reading through all of these lines that these questions and answers. So I started with the law of progress, question 779. Do humans draw from them within themselves the power to progress, or is progress nothing more than the result of education? Humans, us, we advance naturally by ourselves. Not all progress at the same time or in the same manner. However, and it is through social contact that the most advanced help for others to progress. When I go and speak at some of these other centers and we have these where we read through the Spirit's book and we have dialogue, questions and answers and discussions, I find these things immensely valuable for this purpose, because now I'm seeing how people interpret each reading of the doctrine, the Bible, even current events, to take it out. So, whoops, got a little ahead of myself. So, one of the things I had done was go ahead and these dialogues and in interacting with these people, seeing their points of view. I would learn so many important things from just having this other person tell me how they interpret this portion of the book, this reading from their point of view, because they had a different life, different from mine. You all have had a different life than mine. But your life is just as valuable. It has its own wonderful stories that goes with it. One of the beautiful things about having multiple speakers speaking out, that like this week it's me, next week it's someone else, we all have different points of view, and we can learn from each of those how we see things just slightly different, but we get different points of the whole, where we can sit there and be, from one point of view, we can see something this way, someone can see it from a different point of angle. And together we start creating this grander picture, and we have a deeper understanding of something. When I go in my company, they do survey work, so they scan everything. So we're doing these LiDAR scans and everything else so we can find every nooks and crannies, but they don't just put it in one spot and scan it and says, okay, we're done. They move to another spot and scan again, move to another spot, scan again, where they're continuously moving and continuously scanning the same spot so I get every little crevice. And we're doing the same thing as we study these books. We are creating a scan of how these moral laws, how all of these spiritual principles work day in, day out in our day-to-day lives. So, I kept thinking, like, I want to hear your points of view. I want to hear how these things interpret into your life, because then I get to see a little bit more of the picture of what God created for us, what the spirits are helping us with. Because my path is this way, yours may be this way, but I'll encounter an obstacle that I've already overcome that you haven't hit yet. But I can tell you how I did it to help you get over it easier, sooner, better, or avoid it entirely. And likewise, you will do the same to me. Progress. And we're all working together. We're all helping each other. Part of the call to action. What are some of the great obstacles to progress? Pride and selfishness. spirits here are specifically talking about moral progress, since intellectual progress is always occurring. We always hear about the story of how they says like when if we have angels with our wings, one wing was intelligence, one wing is morality. So one is always stronger than the other. The intelligence is usually stronger than the morality because we learn something first, but we gain the morality through the wisdom of putting it into practice. We know something first, and then we see we see the actions of that knowledge later on, and then we change our morality in regards to it. I typically use the example of the atomic bomb in World War II, where humanity finally found a weapon we're scared to use again. We haven't used it since World War II. We have it and everything else. We've had wars, but we've never gone to the point where it says we will use that one. We finally found a limit, and it says, you know what? No, this is not worth it. So we've overcome our own, as it says here, pride and selfishness. We're overcoming that. We're starting to break through and saying, is it truly worth it? Do we go in all these wars and everything else we're seeing around? Or we're totally destroying an area so it's totally unlivable for decades, centuries, or everything else? Or what are we trying to do something with it? I mean, wars are terrible, and we don't want to keep doing these things, but we're still putting something mindful into it. It's like we're trying to put some good in the bad, where we're tearing things down and then we're going to build it back up, or we're going to build it back better, is usually where I'm going with this. And again, that's pride and selfishness that are in play, but we're also trying to tear those things down. We've got to humble ourselves. So as we progress and we keep going through, what are we doing to humble ourselves? What are we doing to make sure that we're not, I'm the best, this is the way, and everything else, where we sit there and say, no, no, no. We're all students. We're all students in school. We're all learning. They may be in different levels, different grades, different classes, different everything else, but we're all learning together. And we're all helping each other. And that's one of the things that I keep saying that comes to my mind, and why I keep doing this where I'm being a lecturer, is this call to action. It's like, we need to be more interactive with each other, not just different centers, different, like within ourselves, the fraternal groups, the helping of others around us, homeless drives, whatever we can think of, ways that we can lift other people up spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever we can do to start lifting all of humanity up. Because as one of us is still falling behind, we should turn around and hand ourselves up and pick them up. Even looking at Jesus, our great master, he turned around and came to help all of us, coming into our lives, giving us what becomes the New Testament, the gospel teachings. He showed us what we're supposed to do. He became the example for us. He lived the example. He showed us, and he was putting his hand out for us. He didn't need to, but he wanted to out of the love in his heart. He didn't have the pride. He didn't have the selfishness. He says, here, let me help all of these people lift themselves up. And we're seeing that even to this day, that work that he did is helping out. And we're seeing it also with all these spirits that are coming to help us. Spiritism, when it came out, when 160, 170 years ago, we had a rule with it. We had a purpose for it. Allan Kardec he started it with the idea of reunifying the Christian faith. And what he got was something greater. He got was the teachings that unifies all faiths. When we started thinking about this, all of these practices, everything we learned within this book, while it's based mostly on the Christian doctrine, has threads that connect all of the religions in the world. And we sit there and we say, like, the spirits then come and say, hey, what can spiritists do? How does Spiritism do to help the world around us? And the Spirits gave an answer right here in 799. Destroying materialism, one of the sores of society, and enable people to comprehend where their true interest lies. Destroying the prejudices of sect, caste, color. Spiritism teaches them about the great solidarity that must unite them as brothers and sisters. When we go out in our day-to-day lives, after leaving here, do you switch off this spiritist brain? Or do you keep this in the mindset that that's my brother or my sister in spirit, if not in blood, but in spirit? Are you going out and interacting with people and treating them as fellow brothers and sisters? We all have that brother and sister that is like, boy, I wish I wasn't related to you, the black sheep in the family, as it were. But how many of us also are sitting there saying, but even though they have that one that's like, you have that one strange brother or sister, you still would do anything for them. And that's something that Spiritism, this teaching here, right here at 799, at least how I understand it, is that we need to do better at teaching everyone we meet as brothers and sisters, and teaching them that they should also be treating everyone as brothers and sisters. This is one of the aspects of the golden rule. When you treat others as you want to be treated, treat others as family, treat others as a brother and sister, no matter their past or background. They are human beings. They deserve our love. They deserve our respect. They deserve to be treated as humans, no matter who they are. And yes, they may aggravate us. They may rub us the wrong way, but we did the same thing to Jesus. And he would turn around and say, oh, how much longer am I going to be with you? But he still turned around and still helped. He even helped the person that was going to betray him on the night that he was betrayed. He washed Judas's feet too. And he knew it. He knew what was going to happen. But he still took care of those around him. We should be following that example. We should be doing the same thing. We should be trying to reach out and go and help others. Even moving on to the gospel. I've seen this one a lot. If anyone's met with the Spiritist Institute with Dan Assisi, this one comes up a lot. Oh, Spiritists, love one another. This is the first teaching. Educate yourselves. This is the second. All truths are found in Christianity. Brothers and sisters, nothing perishes. Jesus is the victor over evil. Be victors over impiety. Love one another. So it's not love myself and keep everything straight to me. Love your fellow Spiritists. Love your family. Love your coworkers. Love the person on the street. Love everyone. Learn to appreciate and show that love, that brotherly love to all. It's hard to do, easy to say, hard to do, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Or as a center, working together. Because one person, it may be too scared to stand and help others. But that's one of the benefits of a center. You have more than one. You have friends. You have people that share a common virtue, common values that can come together. And together, as you guys have fraternal assistance and things like this, multiple people can come together to render aid. Whether it be a kind word, a simple meal, hand up, a job interview, whatever it may be, it's still something. True Spiritists recognize their moral transformation and the efforts they make to overcome their evil inclinations. One of the benefits of me being, when I got introduced to Spiritism 20 years ago, was something like this. Recognize your moral transformations and overcome their evil inclinations. It is not a simple thing of just hearing the words and being saved. It's hearing the words, making the changes so that you become a better person in the future. Another call to action. This is one that's personal to us. We have to take the time to know ourselves. There's another lovely one that I didn't put in here, where Saint Augustine describes how he did his thing. I think it's 919 in the Spirit's book. But know yourself, study yourself, go back and think of yourself day in, day out. Did you do the best that you could do? Is there things? Did you make an enemy today? Are there things that you could have done that was better? A lot of different things can be changed, but you have to start within. Make yourself better. Even something as simple as like taking Benjamin Franklin's advice with his 25 virtues. He had a little book that he would take out and he would cross off, and he would work on one virtue a week. And during that week, he'd sit there and put a dot anytime he didn't make the mark. And by the end of his life, while he didn't make it clear, he reduced the number of dots he had in per each virtue a week. Remember, he had 25, so he was working on each virtue roughly twice a year. He'd focus in on that one twice every year, and then he would work on the next one, then the next one. But he would still keep in mind all the other ones. So maybe that's what you need to do. A little book to sit there and say, was I charitable today? Was I loving today? And then just make a little mark if you weren't. Do a little journal. That's a call to action. The last one here on this page. Duty is an individual's moral obligation, first toward him or herself, and towards others immediately thereafter. Duty is the law of life. It is found in the smallest details as well as in the most elevated acts. As I said before, you can start small. A kind word, a gesture, hand on the shoulder, a hug, and it can grow to be something more elevated. We can look at our dear friend that departed earlier this year, Divaldo Franco, in his Mansion of the Way, where he created something wondrous and beautiful that has, I pray to God that this lasts generations. It's one man that did it, one man that started it. And look what he created. But we can also do the same thing. We can start and help out. Whoever started this center was doing that same thing. And others of you can come in and help out. Like this, maybe you can't do as grand a thing as what Divaldo did, but you're helping out the center, you're helping out your family, you're helping out at home, you're helping out at job, you're not joining in with the other language out on the roadways where you're sitting there honking on the horn or giving one finger salutes and everything else out there. You're not joining in on that negative vibe that we encounter on the roadways. We sit there and we try to lift them up. Where instead of sitting there laying on the horn, God bless you. I know you got somewhere to go. I got somewhere to go too. Hopefully you get there safely. God bless. Because that's a change in the mindset. I know for me, when I was up in New Jersey, I get that anger, like all of a sudden it's like, another accident. Oh my. And I get agitated. Then I started reading this and I started changing my own mental framework. And that's why I started saying, and I started thinking, this is a person. What if this person that just cut me off is racing to the hospital because their child was just hit by a car? Or their wife is pregnant with their baby or something else, or their mother was sick and passing away. What if this person cutting me off was what got them to see their beloved one before they gave their last breath? Whether it's true or not doesn't matter, but it puts that frame in my head that's sitting there saying, like, that could be a reason that this person was rude to me on the road and cut me off. Or it could be something else. But give them that love, give them that respect and blessing. It's something small, because we don't know their story. They don't know ours. But we should be mindful enough to sit there and say, we can give them the benefit of the doubt. One of the things that when I first got the idea of this thing, I was reading this Bible passage here, Ecclesiastes 9:10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. So this is a biblical passage, but it still tells you how to be courageous, to go out there and do something. Without charity, there is no salvation. Charity does not stop only at your body. Charity is others. It's not just your family. It's your friends. It's your coworkers, the person on the street. That's the charity. We should be lifting up each other. That's a call to action. I put in here this picture of a shepherd. Again, this is something that's been brought up a lot in this talks, because we'd always hear about the ministers, the pastors, or something that were staying behind and minding their congregation versus those that go out to search for the lost sheep. One of the beautiful things within the Spiritist community, using this Christian symbology, is that we're all being trained as shepherds. We have our moments where we act like sheep, but we have our moments where we act like shepherds. When you leave the center today, you become a shepherd searching for the lost sheep. You're looking for those around you that are having these crises of faith, that are needing that little bit of love, that needs a little bit of that friendship. Some of them may even need another, just as I was mentioning before, a view on the Bible that they haven't considered before, which is some of the things that we learn through the doctrine. What if some of these wonderful things that we're learning through the doctrine can help a person get through life? And they're sitting there saying, like, why is God so mean to me? Why is it so hard? Why is everything going wrong in my life? We have ideas. It could be part of their reincarnation program. It could be that they've done bad things in their past life that they are doing the corrective work for. It may also be that they are preparing themselves for something better. Like, going back to what I was saying at the very beginning, I was in Seattle when I met the woman that was going to introduce me to Spiritism in New Jersey. I had to lose my job in Seattle, find another job that brought me all the way across the country to New Jersey, back to where this person was, to get and introduce me to Spiritism. So I went through pain in Seattle because, like, oh, what am I going to do now? I lost my job. I can't pay my rent. I can't do all those things. My parents were living in Singapore at the time. It's like, what do I do? And I got blessed with a job opportunity, took me across the country, but then it set me up so that I can do this. So I went through that little bit of pain, but I gained something far greater as a cause of it. Now I left in here 2 questions. Examples in Spiritist literature and some real world examples. I already mentioned Divaldo Franco. There's many, many others out there. And I haven't even brought up the other books. Like it says, we can do books from Chico, books from Divaldo, and like thinking about these spirits. Joanna de Angelis. How much time has she devoted and spent dictating all those books to us for our benefit? She didn't have to, but she did. All these other spirits, Andre Luis, Manuel de Miranda, all these other spirits that come in and dictated books and wisdom and knowledge to us are helping us. They're not doing it for their benefit. They're doing it for ours. Now, I think that would be an interesting spot to open the floor for discussions. I know there was a question and answer session, so I should probably open that up for right now.
Brian,
Yes.
thank you. Awesome topic. What suggestions would you have for the balancing act of the principle, owning a principle of spiritism from the standpoint of action, as you do, and the rest of life and responsibilities and obligations and commitments?
Well, that's a deep one, and it changes as we pick on different commitments. We have to always keep checking that balance. If I was to start a center in Sarasota, my balances would change because I'd be focused in on that center. I wouldn't be able to travel as much. I would be kind of isolated to my little area for the moment. But that's at the same time, I'm still helping promote the center there. You have a new child, your responsibilities change because you now have to focus in on raising that child, imparting your virtues and values onto that child so that, and hopefully they will understand it. Now it's hard to do, especially for some as young as that beautiful child with Kiki, that they may not understand it yet, but you can sit there and give them the framework that as they get older, they will learn the framework. They will see the benefit of this in time. We give the examples of the parables. They're great for kids. They're great for adults because they open the door for everything. We learn through our stories. We tell a story that the kids love. They'll take it in and remember it. In the same way, we need to remind ourselves that that's a fellow human being. They deserve respect. They should be treated as such. Instead of going right into violence or demeaning, yelling at people, screaming, and everything else, try to have that level of understanding. Now, open that door to hear that other person's point of view, and hopefully, they will also be open enough to hear our point of view so that you can see the two sides. Likewise, I hand this up. You see one thing from your point of view, the back of a phone. I see the front of the phone from my point of view. But I'd have to tell you what I see so you get the whole picture of this phone. We can do the same thing with artwork. I know we've got a few artists out here where, like, I always remember that picture where they always have the person in the middle and there's all these different artists that all do a sketch or a painting from all these different points of view. It's still one object, but everyone has a different point of view of what they see.
Brian, that's fantastic. I appreciate that perspective because I shared that with you. And I would like just to make a comment before I forget. Mark, you started this session today introducing you as the American who became a spiritist, or like you are an American spiritist.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that before we were born, we were always spiritists. We're always spirit, but in this incarnation, this lifetime, we have the experience to be born in a certain region of the planet. So we can learn that perspective that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is essential for us to understand in this process of self-learning and self-education, because everybody's correct. There's no wrong perspective. Everyone perceives the truth from where they are at. So the concept of truth for me is just like having an object in the middle of a stadium. And everybody that's watching that game or that little object in the center of the stadium is a point of perspective of the truth. So I think that's what it is. So we are always spirituals before I was born in Brazil in this lifetime. You were born in America, somebody's born in Africa, somebody was born in Israel, all that. So I think it's part of this process, and I appreciate you bringing that up because it gives me a glimpse of this perspective that I hadn't looked at yet, but today I did. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Several years ago, I heard a fellow spiritist, bring the following calculation to my consciousness or to our consciousness. And that is, let's say there is about 120 waking hours in the week. So what percentage are we dedicating to pure charity, where we don't get paid for? And we know from the Spirit's definition, charity begins where duty ends. So let's say 120 hours, approximately waking hours. If I only dedicate 1%, right? That's 10, 12 hours a week? No, that's 10.
120 hours, you'd be 1.2 or
Would
1%.
1%. So maybe we can bump it up to 5, 10%. My goodness, right? So it kind of gives a nice perspective of how much time we spend on our more material parts of our life versus absolute charity. Of course, we can stretch charity into our thoughts, and then it becomes much more, a little bit more murky because, every time something comes up and we encounter it with a charitable thought, then we're more aligned. But anyway, I thought it was a nice way of kind of evaluating our weeks. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes. Even that, like when you're in traffic, it's usually the biggest waste of time we all have. Going to work, and that's where I said like for me when I was in New Jersey and stuck in traffic, I had to start blessing people instead of the one finger salute or laying on the horn or some of the other things. I started saying, giving blessings and started being charitable to them. That's where I made the comment saying like they're probably someone is lost. This is their chance. They're late for a job interview. Whatever excuse I can give them, that was being charitable to them, saying there's a reason for them to be not a nice person on the roadway at that moment in time.
And being charitable to yourself too, because I share the same example. I use to know myself most of the time when I'm driving, when I am among others. You said, what happened if they are rushed to save a life or to save their job? Or what else there? Let we think about that instead of get anger or compete with them. Okay, are you causing me to see which car is faster? No. So
No.
I love that when you said that because I used to give fingers too. Yeah, it's true. I'm a spiritualist over 35 years. And one thing that hurts me the most when I'm a very sensitive medium, and I can in 1 mile I can feel minds and energy around me all over. I have a big radar.
Yeah, radar. Yeah.
And so I started as a medium. I have to work on discipline that on me. Nobody knows I am that way. So it's my duty to educating myself. So when you're a Christian, it's all about your responsibility to know yourself. St. Augustine said, I love that 1919 of the Spiritualist book. Kardec was very wisely and guided to choose that. And when he said, haven't I hurt someone today? If someone has something against me today. So in the traffic, when I'm driving and I ask myself, did I drive well today? Did someone got mad with me, or did I lose my patience with someone? Because sometimes it's hard. I just came back from Brazil for 40-day trip, and it was hard to drive over there. They want to run over you. They take you off the road, the street, everything. So I want to keep my education as a Christian, no, as I'm trying to know myself. So they push you away here too. It's not just Brazil. And I say, oh my gosh. So that is for me is one of the best way to know myself. When I am with myself and what the others is capable to take my patience away, my humility away, my simplicity away, and then I will show my ego, my fears, my anger, my impatience. So at the end of the day, sometimes I'll be very frustrated with myself. And I, like San Agustin gave us an example, I take notes. And the next day, when I am in the road, I pray not just for myself as a driver, but I pray for all other selves as the driver. And I said to God, please uh, release me from myself, because sometimes we are capable to do things that we will never imagine that we can do. So being with yourself, driving, for me is a very good experience. But we have that in our holy day. As a group, I love when you said, when you know love your others, love yourself, and love others. It is the same way to love your community. No matter what, we are a small community at the Spiritual Center, online, Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center, but we love one another. Of course, we don't agree with someone else, some attitudes, sometimes the ideas from one is different from others. But today we have gone through the hard time, the hard path that we have been over 12 years together. So we learn more about each other, and we learn to respect each other's evolution in their own space. And then that is the way when we show love to one another. When we understand, as when you're driving, someone is not in a nice way, in a nice road today, is something's going on. No, when we learn to silence ourselves, or even like Chico taught us, putting the example of his mother gave to him, to putting the peace water in the mouth, no? So to hold our thoughts, to hold our words, because the words can hurt a lot. So I love your presentation. I'm very grateful for being here today, and thank you so very much for being with us. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Can I share? Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Mhm.
And I couldn't help but thinking as you were talking about, it's such an example of our own evolutionary process. You were saying how, are we just coming, to the service, or like, in, centuries past, how, there was the dogma of, you have to come to church, and people just coming on Sundays, or, whenever their, day was. And then what did they do the rest of the week? Maybe it didn't matter because, oh, you went to church, And then, how we see today that this doesn't work, and this isn't enough, so to speak. And so it is that own, our own inner impulse to be here. And then not only that, I remember speaking with a medical resident, and he was telling me how, they would be like 24, 48 hours on when they're doing their residency. And I thought, oh, this is crazy. I mean, they're so like tired, and how can they think straight? And he said, well, that's true. But he said, it's about saturation. And I think this is the same for us, you know, as we just saturate ourselves with this doctrine, then, you know, so I have to laugh sometimes when I hear people say, you know, how many hours are you spending a week? Well, I would say, how many hours am I not, you know, like going to bed at night and going into intelligent sleep, and that we become saturated with this. You know, we go to study after study, attend, you know, different presentations, involved with different services, and we open our minds and we take in this information, and you know, so it's just there. It becomes a way that we live. So it's not about, oh, what virtue do I need to work on today? It's kind of just there in our lap, and we get that uh-oh voice when we get out of line. Um, and so you know, I think too, a part of that process is, you know, no longer the days of going to this building and somebody, you know, preaching to us, but more like St. Francis said, do it, you know, with our actions and use words if you have to. So we really need to get on board with, what does dissemination mean and how is this effective? Because we know if someone doesn't listen to their own conscience, no matter what we say or don't say, you know, um, yeah, yeah. So it's about that inner impulse and respecting that within one another. And I think it's, you know, that thing coming to peace with not everybody's at my stage or my agenda or my place. So I think it was very good what Tanya said about that mouthful of water, you know, and just hold it. And sometimes you have to hold it a long time. Um, but I think I couldn't help but think, wow, you know, this is an example. We are evolving and it is coming to pass, and it's here right before our eyes. So thank you so much. And I feel like you know, and I know in the upcoming weeks, Mark and I'm going to share on the law of progress, and Mark will be sharing on, or I mean, I'm going to share on the law of destruction, and Mark will share on the law of progress. And I feel like yours is kind of the combination of both of them. So thank you so much.
Mhm. Thank you. One thing I do, you were just mentioning to me, is like I do have my former trainer that I work at when I go to hit the gym with, and after a while he's been having his own crisis of faith. He doesn't, it says, you was mentioning the dogma. He doesn't like the dogma. He doesn't like the doctrinal teaching because it's kind of like it's imposing its will. And he's like, I'm just curious. I want to learn. Where do you have this faith that I'm sharing with you right now? How do I have this? And I sit there and says, I studied on my own. I went and I read the Bible cover to cover. I'm studying the doctrinal teachings and everything else. So I'm taking the time to read. So I told him the same thing. Go read the Bible. We'll talk about it when in between sets. So it's funny. It's like I'm sitting here talking to someone, not even a spiritist, and I'm just telling him read the Bible, and we'll have a dialogue. We're talking about Genesis right now, and he's rebuilding his faith to the point where his girlfriend, I had to use them. I had to use physical training terms because it's like she's like, "Do I go? Do I not go? I'm not sure what I want to do." And I says like, "You're in a plateau, just like for people that are working out. When you hit that plateau, that means your body's transitioning. It means as soon as you break through that plateau, you're going to get stronger. So you're at that moment. You're at that fate. You're on that spiritual plateau. You keep going. You go push through it. Keep trying harder. Next thing you know is you're going to grow. You're going to grow spiritually. You're going to grow morally. So thank you for that, Teresa.
That was beautiful. And Teresa, I would just say, I would mention exactly the statement from St. Francis of Assisi that you mentioned: preach the gospel all the time, use words only when necessary, which is this call to action. And and when we see the Spirit of Truth telling us, love one another, love is a call to action, right? Like, you cannot love if you do not act towards the other. So I think it's really beautiful when we look at that and see, what is my call today? Like, what can I do? And I just wanted to share with you all a statement that I heard in a spiritual center that I used to go in Brazil. They have this charity arm that it's not necessarily tied to the spiritism. So then people who are not spiritists, they also feel comfortable joining the group for doing spiritism, for doing charity, excuse me. And they have a saying that says, if I cannot do everything that I must at least do everything that I can. And that is so beautiful, right? Because, you know, like we all have duties and so many other things that sometimes we cannot do everything that we should. But at the same time, if we do everything that is within our hands, so as the examples that you were saying, if we are in a traffic, you just bless people. Imagine how beautiful, like imagine the energy that we are just giving towards you, right? So if we are at work and someone is doing something that it's not pleasant, but we hold with water our mouth, and then instead of bad mouthing the person with our thoughts, we are just thinking, you know, like sending positive vibrations. This is a change of attitude, which is exactly what Teresa was saying. So I loved how we all connected all the dots, and thank you so very much. This was very, and you know what? I have a list of things that I must do. And I love that I ended up this meeting with the list of actions that nope are just waiting for me, like go, 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 go. Thank you, brother.
Can I just share one thought from Chico Xavier? It's a short story. He has a dog, a puppy that the horse have kicking him, and he was walking from the job back to home, and he hold that dog and took it home, took a very good care of the dog, and the dog grew up, was his great companion now, as they all is, and he was so happy, could not wait to get home to have his friend and feed them and have his love back. And one day he got home, the dog was very sick, suddenly very sick, has no problem in the morning, but in the evening he was very sick. And the dog looked at him very weak and died. So he was so thoughtful that the dog wait for him to die, now to say goodbye to him. And his was a heartbroken, like you were talking about your dog, Brian. So we know all of us have lost pets and we know the pain. So imagine he learned that the neighbor thought the dog was taking him away from his job as spiritual medium, serving others. The neighbor gave a poison on the meat and killed his dog. And the neighbor thought he was helping Chico not to take his time away from his duties. So when he learned that, someone told him, and he was so broken heart, so resentful. And Emmanuel came to him after days of resentment. And Emmanuel came to him and said, until you have this energy inside your heart, you can no longer serve us. Because how can we give a good energy through a medium that is have a lot of black, and he showed the energy on his heart. And he said, what I can do, she hurts me so much. He took my precious being. And he said, you learn who she is before you judge her. And you gave her a very good gift. You learn what she needs. And me, I have to do this? Yes. So Sheikh, as he was searching the neighborhood to learn about that neighbor, he learned that she was a very charitable person. He did not know that. And everybody knows, oh, I know she's a very a heart good giver. She take care of the kids. She go after the people who doesn't have clothes, the children who will be born, and preparing their clothes. So searching, one guy said, you know, the what that she loves the most to have and she doesn't have is a sewing machine, a sewing machine. So he looked and searched to buy. He found, finally I found what she needs, told Emmanuel. Emmanuel said, go and give her. So he found the best one. And he thought, for all my salary, you would be buying this. And the man said, no, this is one part of the price. So he's sharing 10 payments. And I gave a gift to her. So So in the moment she received the soul machine, her heart lived so brightly. A light from her heart came to his heart and took away that black energy of resentment that he was holding inside. So after that, they turn very good friends and everything. So see how life is when we work on ourselves and see the good on other people. Again, Brian, go back to your driving. And that will be in my mind forever, okay? The other one always is in need. Something happened. If they are in a rush, remember, they are not against you. They are trying to find or trying to get in some place to save their lives or someone else's life. Thanks so much. Sorry for talking too long.
Any final comments? Well, thank you again, Brian. Powerful messages for each of us